If I wanted to change the world, if anyone wanted to change the world, you would do so by having like real world impact on political, for example, political elections. You would go out, you do canvassing, you go out, you do marches, right? You go out and you do protests. If you want to have actual impact on like political policy, you go out and you like maybe work on like a campaign for somebody, right? It's really easy. It is exceedingly easy to get involved in real world politics. Okay, let's do this. Bizarre world of Twitch politics. Let's go. I have some commentary as well to give over the Bunk versus Stardust segment, because oh boy, we have new drama. Okay, we have new shit going down. So
last 2 years, you've most likely heard of the online politics community, a vehicle for change and the leading voice for this generation's political views. If it weren't for recent actions and activities in this sphere coming to light, I probably wouldn't have made this video. But without further ado, it's time to take a look at one of the most persistently toxic internet communities to date.
It's always black people. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking...
But I will, in fact, be Vosh gender from now on, okay?
I feel like that was mostly just unfunny. In fact, and this is going to be a real hot take, I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument.
A manifesto that is 32 pages long.
Stardust, I can list off a bunch of reasons why I think that they're annoying.
The rioting needs to fucking stop. And if that means like white redneck fucking militia dudes out there, holy motherfucking god!
The rioting needs to stop. True.
Shut the fuck up.
Bing bow! Bing bow wow!
Nothing I do is performative. So I'm not going to, for instance...
The rioting needs to fucking stop.
I'm sorry. I'm very irritable. I'm very, you know, it's a me problem. I'm throwing a temper tantrum because I'm hungry.
Yeah, so you can get some kind of cheap own on me. Oh yeah, well it's not guaranteed you're hypothetical.
Hold on, I have to mute you for a second because you're giving like advice on my stream, okay? So if you are in a...
I'm giving rape advice on this. That's a really good intro. God damn it, that's really fucking good. I really love the intro to this video. iDubbbz music? Is that from an iDubbbz video? There's no fucking way. I don't know, maybe I'm fucking missing it. I thought it was really good. I think of the compilation of a bunch of different fucking weird-ass clips from the Twitch politics community. I was involved, by the way. I was in this video, so that makes it automatically good. 10 out of 10, okay? Anything that gives me clout, even indirectly, I am much appreciative of. So, like, for example, right? Nicholas Diorio is fat, but he also gives me clout on the internet, so that makes up for it, right? This video, it gives me clout on the internet, so, like, I think by default, I think it's good. I think it's a great video. That's what I'm going into. Like, that's my perception so far. I think it's fantastic. Also, cut off Bunk saying, yeah, she's a woman. Yeah, there's a clip of me. The clip that you saw right here. So let's go back to it. It's this part. Stop a bunch of reasons why I think that they're annoying. So I say, I could list off a bunch of reasons why I think Stardust is annoying. And I said, for one, they're a woman, and it's a really banger clip. But I think my stream froze for part of it. So you didn't get the, I think that's why you probably didn't leave the entire thing in. Damn it, dude. I thought it was so funny saying that, by the way, for the first time. I thought I was the funniest guy in the world. Okay? Misogyny is the #1 key to being funny on the internet. That's how it works.
There's a lot of prominent figures in the Twitch politics sphere. I'd say it's one of the largest internet communities still alive today. But just 8 years ago, it ceased to exist. Bar one streamer. Stephen Kenneth Bonnell II, often referred to as Destiny, was born December 12, 1988 in Omaha, Nebraska. Today, he's often credited with being one of the earliest IRL streamers, and the first internet personality to go full-time, as well as the first person to introduce politics to Twitch. There are many interesting stories from Destiny's first couple years as one of the top streamers, all of which are largely irrelevant, such as his exit of Justin.tv, Twitch's predecessor, to an alternative streaming website with a seemingly larger pay, which crashed and burned. However, Destiny was mostly known for his competitive StarCraft 2 gameplay. Obnoxious, rude, abrasive, and hilarious. He was known as one of the most popular players exported from the streaming website into the competitive scene. Destiny's community expanded, and landed him a pretty sweet spot in the limelight. Bonnell was also known for running canvassing operations, typically described as a way for
it's a pretty big jump actually between between Destiny being like a competitive StarCraft 2 player and his involvement in the esports scene. I think also around the same time that he was an esports player, one of the biggest things that he ever did is he made a little anti-DDoSing kind of thing, how to protect yourself from getting DDoS on the internet. That was, his guide was probably one of the larger career moves that he made back then. Gained him a pretty substantial amount of clout on the internet. There's a pretty big jump between like that and the early days of him being, for example, on Justin TV, and him going full time as a streamer. There's a pretty big jump between that and like, oh yeah, this is when he was canvassing, and like I think it was somewhere around like 2018, I want to say. It was quite recent by comparison to everything else that was brought up. I don't think it's like necessarily a bad thing for a video, but there's a substantial jump between that where you're going like, oh yeah, by the way, here's like his first kind of days on the platform. Here's when he was first starting off as like a Twitch streamer. Here's when he like went full time. This is what he used to do with like competitive esports. And oh yeah, let's jump forward to canvassing that happened like this fucking decade or like last decade.
To touch base with the general public about their views. Destiny ran 2 of these events within the space of a year. The first took...
Oh god, what the fuck? Fucked it up.
Question.
No, shit. What the fuck? I'm so mad. Yeah.
expanded and expanded and landed him a pretty sweet spot in the limelight. Banal was also known for running canvassing operations, typically described as a way for political parties to touch base with the general public about their views. Destiny ran 2 of these events within the space of a year. The first took place in Georgia, where Destiny and friends flew out to support Democratic candidates Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock against Republicans Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. Despite not having any significant voter data, Banal and his community knocked over 2,000 doors of inconsistent voters. Unfortunately, his second canvassing event wasn't as successful. After his event in Georgia going well enough, Destiny set up a second event in his hometown of Nebraska, Omaha, meeting with candidate Mark Gudgel and interviewing him
I gotta
live.
turn off notification
However,
sound. Sorry about that.
It's said that a group of people from the BreadTube community clipped short portions of Destiny's streams and posted them publicly to Twitter. These clips eventually reached the Gudgel campaign after his old school's newspaper made an article sharing the clips.
Oh god, hold up. Let's actually pull up the article that they're talking about within this this thing. We can actually Mark Gudgel's controversial connection. All right. Let's actually take a look at the article. Let's see what's actually published within the article. No, this was in like 2021, so I was pretty accurate as far as the canvassing happening. I was a few years off. I thought I was around 2020, but I was dear God, dude. I pulled myself back and I was incorrect in that too. I completely mind-fucked myself out of having like the right date. So within this article, they show a couple of clips. I think I'm just gonna probably play the sound of it. Oh no, I can't show this clip on stream. So this is one of the first clips that's shown in the article that they're talking about here. One of the clips that were spread around about Destiny that kind of fucked with his campaign within Nebraska specifically was the one where he was talking about, I think it was specifically the riots from the BLM protests that kind of happened around 2020, 2021, in which he says that he wouldn't mind if there was redneck militia around, armed redneck militiamen mowing down protesters in the streets. That's a quote. Twitch, please don't take me down. And that was like types of clips like that. I think there was also the oh, fuck. I think there was also some clips about incest that were also spread around. The N-word, the F-slur being said on stream. These are like some of the clips that were put within the article itself. Because I was really curious to see what exact clips were spread around. I remember hearing about some of the clips, but I don't remember the exact ones that like we were talking about specifically. Who is Destiny? Destiny is a really old internet personality who used to do StarCraft 2 competitively. He used to be a competitive StarCraft 2 player, used to do esports for the game. He also was one of the first people to start debating, I think, specifically politics on Twitch. He was like the first like debate bro kind of guy. He had like a large resurgence of politics on his streams, specifically around 2016, 2017. He still does mostly politics to this day. That's the most popular like front. Right now in this video, it's talking about specifically the canvassing that he did. Canvassing is like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be completely fucking wrong on this, but I'm gonna hope that I'm not and say it on stream anyway. So canvassing, I believe, is whenever you go around and you start knocking on doors, specifically to inform people about a specific candidate and the policies that they have. A kind of way of like touching base with different voters, right? So if you're going out and you're canvassing, I believe he had a hotel I don't know if he rented out the hotel room specifically, or if people had to rent out hotel rooms for themselves. But he had a bunch of people come down to his. There was one original event that was also mentioned in this video, but the one that we're talking about right now was specifically in his home state of Omaha, Nebraska, I believe it was, in which they had a bunch of people come down, stay in the hotel room for a few nights, and then going around knocking on doors and informing people about the stances of I think it was Mark Gudgel specifically. Yeah. What about him? What are his stances? He's generally liberal. I think specifically he is a soc dem, I believe it was, is his general political ideology. But yeah, he's pretty left leaning as far as that's concerned.
This would eventually draw his critics out of the woodwork, further sharing the clips that in the past had gotten him departnered from Twitch. This ended up damaging the Mark Gudgel campaign and contributing to his loss of the election. There's a lot of shady stuff here. Strange Facebook posts from supposed business owners making unsubstantiated claims about Destiny community members harassing them, and emails from weird people claiming to be working for local news stations, so much that it almost deserves its own video. Ian Koczynski, also known as Vosh Vidya or Irish Laddie, is a leftist political streamer who often describes himself as an anarcho-syndicalist. Now, to anyone watching this who's ever gone outside, you probably have no idea what that is. So, here's a very simple breakdown. There are 4 quadrants in a political compass: left authoritarian, right authoritarian, left libertarian, and right libertarian. Now, anarcho-syndicalism. Anarcho-syndicalism is the idea that we can get groups of workers who petition for better rights and treatment to overthrow capitalism to establish a free society in which these groups of workers, now referred to as syndicates, run the economy and distribute the money equally between them. Vosh initially gained prominence in Destiny's community, regularly speaking to him on stream about different topics. Vosh's reputation eventually succeeded his status, and he started streaming himself. However, his squeaky clean record wouldn't last for long. The last thing you want from a controversial political streamer is a sexual harassment scandal, but as it turned out for Vosh, it was going to become one of his biggest points of criticism for years to come. A member of Destiny's community named Poppy dropped pages of Discord logs from upwards of a year back, accusing Irish Laddie, who will call Vosh.
Here we go. This is the Poppy shit. So I think originally, when was this? This was a while ago, but early on into Vosh's streaming career, he had a controversy where apparently he was sexually harassing somebody within the Destiny Discord server by the name of Poppy. Eventually, they ironed it out and they dropped the shit, whatever. I'm not super knowledgeable. In fact, I wouldn't even say that I'm not super knowledgeable. I'm nearly completely unknowledgeable on this topic of these sexual harassment claims. I know fucking nothing about it. This is my fancy way of saying I know fucking nothing. I could go down I could go down and do an entire research stream on this. I don't really have much interest in going over allegations that are so old. So, with that being said, I'm going to play this on stream. I'm going to hope that every single thing that's said within this video is correct, because I trust Dingo to have slightly some well-done research in the video. But just let it be known that I have no fucking clue about anything that they're saying here, alright? This could all be wrong, and I wouldn't be able to give commentary to say that it's not.
Posterity's sake of sexual harassment. The logs were credible, and eventually he confirmed those conversations had took place. There are certain messages in these logs that are unfortunately incredibly creepy and inappropriate. Before the logs were leaked, but also after the two had stopped talking, Vosh came into the knowledge that Poppy was planning to release the two's logs. Believing that Poppy was going to distort or misrepresent the screenshots, Vosh went into full panic mode, and even suggested telling her he was, quote-unquote, onto her shit.
Oh boy.
Vosh also
That's not a good look.
Stream to defend himself, albeit poorly.
But that's fine. That's fine.
Whoa, no, wait, hold on. We can't move past the fact that. Wait, hold on.
That's fine.
You accuse me. Wait, you accuse me of defending people out of monetary interest.
Oh, I'm so sorry if my accusations towards you in this conversation have been wild, friend. So if you don't believe.
Well, the difference is I am substantiating mine. What do you mean? How do you mean? How do you mean that I am? Tell me which streamers you think I let slide. You're talking to the #1 bridge burner on Twitch. Please tell me which streamers you think I let slide on things that I should be calling them out on. I would love to hear this for financial motivation.
This kind of behavior harkens back to previous controversies on the internet. Lionmaker, Onision, James Charles, and Austin Jones. These are all examples of public figures abusing their online status for sexually degenerate favor.
So, I remember I got to see parts of this video early. Specifically, I saw the Vosh one was one of the first ones that I got to see. And I remember I told Dingo about this. If you say it harkens back to Lion Maker, that's gonna put a very large put of criticism on your video, right? Knowing that the allegations against Vosh are not nearly as substantial as the allegations against Lion Maker. Lion Maker fucked up way more, okay? Way more than any of the people who were involved in specifically this. I don't know why I think people who are involved, specifically Vosh, right? That's going to put a very large point of criticism on your video. I understand that. That would be something that I brought up as a critique. I know there's a part in the description of this video that has corrections, which says like, hey, by the way, I didn't mean like specifically it's as bad as Lion Maker. I just meant that it was like a sexual scandal, right? But that's not super likely to be seen. It does give some kind of point of defense towards the video, however.
Favors, whether from minors or adults.
They're all examples of public figures abusing their status, and Vosh, Poppy, or undeniable power dynamic there. Sure, there is a power dynamic there, but it's not nearly as large of a moral wrong as what happened with Lion Maker, and that's the entire point that I'm trying to make. It's not that there wasn't a point of power dynamic, or that there was like not the sexual favors being exchanged with this dynamic in place.
It's a troubling picture of the internet personalities operating online today. What's to stop these creators, or even just prominent community members, from doing these morally condemnable things? And even if we do keep the pitchforks up, how do we stop ourselves from smearing innocent people? After the dust settled and the initial blowback passed, Vosh issued an apology, which today some consider to be ignorant and dishonest. Regardless, the internet ought to provide an opportunity for people to redeem themselves. Hate mobs have proven time and time again to be an ineffective way of preventing online predatory behavior. Vosh is also heavily criticized and disparaged for a series of videos clipped from his Twitch streams expressing admittedly disturbing views about pedophilia.
The Multiverse happened in 2017. I started streaming in 2019. Is that true? Okay, this is way before then when he started streaming. That's like 2 fucking years, dude. Okay, that's I'm completely wrong about when this happened. Again, as I said, I'm not super knowledgeable on these allegations.
Is it wrong to have sex with young people? Well, because generally, under most circumstances, it begets bad outcomes, okay? Don't do this stupid you guys misunderstood bullshit. Oh, it's not that you guys misunderstood. I just think that this is very dumb for you to misunderstand this point. It's not like you guys misunderstood, it's just like this is embarrassing. Okay, look, this is super duper simple, okay? Act utilitarianism is about considering the consequences of a specific action, okay? It is possible, please right now uncuck your dumb shit libcuck fucking SJW brains and recognize this empirically correct fact that I am about to spit. It is possible for an adult and a child to have a sexual relationship and for it to have positive outcomes on the child as well. That is... Still don't care. I still think that, like, zoophile porn, like drawn stuff, it should be 100% legal.
So I have seen the original clip one that's being shown here. I think his entire point was supposed to be, hey, by the way, certain times there could be like positive outcomes between a child relationship and with an adult. However, because of those specific circumstances don't really matter, because generally speaking, it's a bad thing to happen. Well, I don't. And then he goes on to say like, oh, I'm a rule utilitarian, and because as a rule utilitarian, I should be against that. And that would be like a failure of act utilitarianism. It's a super like philosophy bro fucking cucked thing to do, and I'm not going to be re-explaining the clip because that's terrible optics to do so. Okay, I'm not going to be like going down what he could possibly have meant by this clip. The best thing I can say is that he was trying to make a point that it's bad to be in favor of relationships with children, even if some of them can have good outcomes, right? If there's a possibility, there's a chance that it could be like a good outcome on both the individuals, right? Well, I don't necessarily disagree with anything that's being said there. What I do disagree with is specifically the philosophy point that is being discussed. I think it's probably bad, for example, children and adults to be in relationships, broadly speaking. I'm talking to like a significant age difference, not like 17, 18 children and child, or children and adult. Broadly speaking, there's no way you could possibly assess those outcomes, and we should be generally against those. Like that just seems to be a pretty easy thing to agree with. I don't know. The clip is super fucking bad. Okay, I don't think that anybody should be discussing specifically this on stream. But I mean, if he wants to, again, there's not much I can do to repair the clip. But I do understand what he's trying to say here, and it's not as bad as I think a lot of people will probably paint it up to be.
In fact, and this
Now for this clip, I have no fucking clue. I can never find the original VOD. I'm gonna play it anyway though, because fuck it.
is going to be a real hot take. I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument as to why possession of child pornography should be illegal. Actual child pornography. How's that?
The backlash was immense, severely damaging his reputation, especially for people not native to the Twitch politics sphere, unfamiliar with the tendency of these creators to showcase their opinions in a bombastic and extreme way. Eventually, through searching the full stream, the context was found, and it does change what he was trying to say.
Okay, so if you were to... So, you know, there's pedophiles, right, who buy child pornography. Would you say they should not be held responsible for doing that?
Yes.
Really? Even though they're directly supporting child rape?
Oh boy.
Yeah, I think it's hypocritical. If I because I bought my computer and the silicon in it was farmed in Africa by slaves, if I can do that and that's legal and no one's going to call me out on my shit, then yeah, I have to be consistent in that respect.
Okay, look,
Well, no, the problem with that would be, though, is that you have probably greater usages for a computer than the, like, specific slavery that would happen there, right? That just because there was unethical ways of getting that computer. A computer will give you, like, the ability to do so much good in the world. For example, particularly for Vosh, he has a large streaming audience. He pushes a lot of people left-leaning, right? That you could be able to do a lot more good in the world with that computer than without the computer, right? There's also arguments to be made about, like, the knowledge of the ways that you get certain parts within your computer, and the knowledge of that being indicative of other possible bad or good things that you could do, right? We could go down that entire list. I don't think these things are equivalent. But I think the point that he's trying to make within all of these clips is like, hey, child labor is bad. Child labor is bad, and so is child porn. But child labor seems to be fine, but child porn isn't. What's the deal with that?
I think there's levels to this. So I wouldn't equate buying a computer to buying child pornography.
Vosh's point seems to be more about condemning child labor and showing a perceived hypocrisy, rather than defending such despicable behavior, albeit in a terribly phrased way. These controversies, or more specifically the Poppy situation, and Vosh's initially terrible response, drove Destiny to entirely ban Vosh from his community, including their chat, Discord, and Twitch. Although the two would eventually make amends.
Oh boy.
And then pay each other all over again.
But all I know is I've seen a lot of Marvel movies, and in the part where the good guy gets framed, and he turns around and there are a bunch of angry cops and civilians staring at him, he drops
Not the
gun and puts
Rittenhouse
his hand up in
debate.
the air, and he doesn't fucking unleash the...
Well, I've seen Marvel movies where this doesn't happen. I also see Marvel movies where people fly around in iron suits, dude. And so you fucking Vosh really owned Destiny on that point. Oh boy, okay, my opinion is already out there about the Rittenhouse shit. I've debates on the Rittenhouse shit. I'm not gonna rehash the Rittenhouse shit. Holy shit, dude. That was the most AIDS fucking topic of debate. I have burned so many bridges with so many different left-wing people over that fucking controversy. Holy shit, dude. It is the most AIDS thing to debate ever.
The fucking Iron Man laser and cut down 300 people.
Today, Vosh is one of the most popular Twitch politics streamers next to Destiny. He also maintains a mostly positive reputation among the wider Twitch politics sphere, despite the general internet having an arguably negative opinion of the streamer. Now, obviously with large communities and platforms come clout chasers and morally repugnant people. Throughout the next section of this video, I'll be interviewing, profiling, and discussing some of the people inside the Twitch politics community. Also during this segment, it'll be up to you to decide who's legit and who's not.
Oh boy. Oh boy! Here we go.
I've made jokes about how conservatives are all unhinged.
We're gonna go into Drama Town.
You know, like they're all doing their best.
I'm taking this hard right turn into Dramaville.
Often the Twitch politics community likes to sell itself as a form of activism, despite taking place almost entirely over the internet and rarely spilling out into the real world. I was initially confused by this seemingly obvious contradiction and how fervently others argued against it, but it only took me a conversation with ad hoc panel streamer Chud Logic to really understand. Is there any, like, massive change or, like, shift you'd like to see personally in the Twitch politics community?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest shift I want to see is more people accepting the fact that of the nature of what this is, which is, you know, entertainment. Maybe you can learn something. Maybe you'll be inspired to do something in the real world, and I would, you know, think that would be good. But just recognizing that, look, this isn't you know, the revolution, or, you know, this isn't like a policy kind of, you go, we're going to discuss policy and then we're going to go and implement it. You know, this is mainly entertainment, and that's fine. You're within your rights to watch entertaining content and have fun.
I mean, I think I fully probably agree with Chud Logic here within this interview specifically. Twitch politics, it does have some kind of impact on the real world. Whether that impact is huge or not, I don't know. I don't think the impact's like super large. If I'm being completely honest with myself. This is something that I think a lot of people need to understand about Twitch politics, and a lot of people need to understand about, like, specifically political activism on the internet. If I wanted to change the world, if anyone wanted to change the world, you would do so by having, like, real world impact on political, for example, political elections. You would go out, you do canvassing, you go out, you do marches, right? You go out and you do protests. If you want to have actual impact on, like, political policy, you go out and you, like, maybe work on, like, a campaign for somebody, right? It's really easy. It is exceedingly easy to get involved in real world politics. Okay, and if you really want to have some kind of impact on real world politics, you're not going to be doing so over the internet. You're probably going to, if you want to be the most efficient about it, you're probably going to be doing, again, working on a campaign, doing canvassing, doing protesting, doing marches, right? I do politics on the internet because I think it's fun. I think it's fun. Genuinely, it's fun to stream, to talk about what I want to talk about, which is a lot of things. I talk about a lot of things on my stream. I'm not only a political streamer, okay? I know a lot of people came in from the Diorio shout out of the stream, okay? I am not only a political streamer. I do talk about politics very frequently. I talk about politics a lot in my show. However, it's not the only thing that I like to talk about. I also like to talk about fucking Wizard 101 and play video games with my friends on stream, right? I do a lot of different things on stream. And if I wanted to make political activism specifically, if that was my end goal, I would not be specifically debating people on the internet. Again, would be out there. I'd be doing specific, like, real world work. That would be the, like, #1 priority. So whenever people are doing specifically Twitch politics, I think it's important to realize that a lot of it is just entertainment. A lot of it is just because people want to have fun playing it, right? Or the fun, not playing it, but fun doing the kind of things that they do, right? A lot of people enjoy having debates on the internet. A lot of people enjoy having conversations with people. A lot of people enjoy making content for people to consume, right? This is a lot of people's jobs, for example. I know a lot of people who do this because they gain a good bit of money off of it, not to change the world. If I want to change the world, you're going to be doing other things with your time.
And use this as your wind down time, or you know, like some people watch TV for like 6 hours after finishing work, or whatever it is. Like, yeah. It's fine to sit and watch this for a few hours if you want to, but, you know, it's just really to reduce your expectation that just simply watching content in itself is going to somehow bring about any sort of meaningful political change or something like that, because I really don't think it is. And I think people are in the habit of consuming content, and that's fine, but then they do it excessively, and then also on top of that they think it's meaningful political action. So when you give $5 to your favorite streamer, it's not just, hey, I like this guy's content and he's entertaining, I'm going to give him $5. It's, I've just donated $5 to a political cause. I think that's how people rationalize it in their head sometimes. And I think it's important to step back from that. And if you do genuinely want to do something political, take that $5 and go and put it into something political, or go and do something offline, you know, or do both, you know, donate to the streamer. Obviously, I love that shit, but also take a bit of time to do something that actually has a meaningful impact or change outside of the space here. I mean, for me, the stuff I talk about most and I'm most interested in is talking about is are these platforms, the nature of these platforms, and how they incentivize certain behavior and content creators, and how that plays out. And I think that a lot of people see Twitch politics as more than what it is. Like, I wouldn't say, maybe some people will call me cynical, but I very much see it as it is content and it's entertainment. And whilst I think there's maybe some secondary things that can come of that, I think it's important to put the idea that it's content front and center. And it's funny because this is something I've spoken about for like a little while now, and I've spoken about content and the spectacle and, you know, what it all means and stuff like that. And I see these creators come through that like think that they can be above that. And they think, oh, I can change the space, right? I can make this a better place or whatever. And it's like, it's a very noble goal, and I appreciate like the idea and whatever. But the reality is you cannot resist the structural incentives that are at play for like what kind of content you ought to create. So whilst I think there's different types of content that you can get an interest with, really it's kind of the drama and the fighting and the blood sports and sometimes the debate that comes to the forefront of all of this on Twitch. So yeah, I think that I do my best to try and point out some of these aspects, and I don't necessarily think, because I see my own stuff as content too, I don't think I'm going to change anything or people are going to like meaningfully change the way that they engage in the space. But at least if people could just think about it a bit more and be like, hey, this is just entertainment, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be more than that. You know, that's the stuff that really interests me. And I think that the more people engage with that and you know, thought, hey, maybe I don't need to take this super seriously. Maybe I can just see it as something fun and entertaining to engage in, and maybe learn a thing or two, or maybe get inspired to go and do something outside of it political. Like, I think that would be a good thing overall.
Chud seemed rather forthcoming with the fact that it was just entertainment, to the point where he even answered my question before I had even asked it. Chud is more playful than most political streamers, rejecting an overly serious and pretentious attitude in favor of a frisky but informing style of comedy. It's in this where I began to completely understand the synergies of this community. Generally, the people who take Twitch politics incredibly seriously are often the most hated people in the community. Creators like Demon Mama or Hasan Piker prove this. Meanwhile, the people who take it as a joke are usually more successful, both in promoting their ideology and being liked outside of the bubble of Twitch politics. On top of that, it's a persuasive way to pull people over to your ideas. Think about how many far-right people have been swayed by charismatic and genuinely funny people like Destiny. It's far...
Oh boy. This is actually something that is... I think this video is like 100% right on, okay? It is 100% correct in the assertion that the ability to like control an audience with comedy is a large thing in persuasion. For example, you can look at shows like Adam Ruins Everything, or Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, or again, like people like Destiny, for example. All these things, all these types of media will always incorporate some kind of joke, some kind of comedy to reel it back in. Whenever you can make an audience laugh, it is way easier to persuade them than like actually sitting down and be like, okay, so here's all the factual information that says that you are wrong and I'm right, right? This is something, for example, that is one of the strongest bits of persuasion, and something that I try and do a lot whenever I have debates with people. For example, you'll see a lot of the times whenever I have a conversation with people, specifically people who are right-leaning, I will implement different types of like witty remarks throughout a conversation. I will have that kind of that upbeat. I'll attempt to have some kind of charismatic comedy that comes along with the actual arguments that I'm making. I want to not only have the people in the audience swayed because of the arguments that I'm making, but also because I seem to be somebody who is, what would you call it, better at the bits of comedy and better at the bits of the other parts of persuasion that aren't exactly, let's sit down, let's look at all the facts, let's look at all the information, let's see how you're like factually incorrect, right? So, for example, there's a lot of people who have pulled people to the right with these types of tactics, such as people like Nicholas J. Fuentes, okay? That guy isn't the smartest guy on the planet. He's not really popular because he has all the facts and he's got all the information, okay? I wouldn't say he's popular because of rhetorical ability. I think that he's popular because he has the ability to make people laugh. He has that ability to lean into that little bit of edgelord, like irony-based comedy that does take people to the right. I will, for example, engage in similar types of comedy whenever I'm having a conversation with somebody who is right-leaning. Specifically, a lot of groypers that I have conversations with. Being able to take people not only on the grounds of rhetoric and factual information, but also in the grounds of comedy and making the audience laugh both these areas are very important as far as persuading people in the audience to agree with you or not.
Easier to convince someone of your position if they're already laughing at your jokes. Persuasion is all parts humor, and that rings especially true for the Twitch politics community. So then why do these streamers so desperately want the Twitch politics sphere to be dead serious if it's more effective to be funny? Well, apart from the fact that sometimes they have some difficulty being funny, it's because it gives them an out to be terrible people. If you're a comedian, it doesn't really make sense to go after people for making jokes. But if you're a serious political commentator, it's pretty damn easy to justify attacking anyone you can label as a rogue troll in your super serious political environment.
Oh no. Oh
Well,
boy.
this next segment may feel partly
Here.
disconnected from the rest of this video.
And here we go. Oh boy, we're going into the drama sphere. Oh baby, this is gonna be fun. Oh, I'm sure everybody's really enthusiastic to hear about my drama with other super popular political entertainer Stardust. Okay, I'm sure everybody's enthusiastic to hear what I have to say on this month-old drama. I can hear like Chad. They're on the edge of their seats right now. Okay, they're roaring, so ready to hear my take on the month-old drama.
Due to both people involved here being relatively small and unknown content creators, I'll say that this segment proves an interesting look into the drama-filled space of the smaller Twitch politics sphere. In this section of the community, thousands of hours of drama content and idiotic conflicts are produced each week. Most of them will never see themselves displayed in a video like this, so without further ado, enjoy Bunk v Stardust. Welcome to the lovely world of interpersonal online conflicts. Stardust is a political streamer, as usual, and so is Bunk, but there's a wild card here.
Oh,
Bunk
boy.
doesn't actually originate from the Twitch politics community. He was born from commentary, where people call each other racial slurs and hurl poo. So,
Oh yeah, this is something that that is I think it's pretty well known to people who have been watching me for a very long time, but maybe not to other people. I know I've had a conversation with people who come on my stream and be like, you need to get more into commentary, okay? You need to get, you're more well known in the Twitch politics sphere than I am in commentary. I am more so known in commentary than I think anywhere in the Twitch politics sphere. I am primarily somebody who comes from the commentary community, who used to make commentary content and hangs out specifically with people who make commentary videos, such as, like, for example, Nicholas Diorio, Aiden Projects. I hang around that side of the internet primarily. So I think something that is like a large part in this drama was the way that I phrased myself is very much so. I'm a very blunt person, right? I don't really like to go beat around the bush or anything like that. I really enjoy the idea of like shit talking people. I think it's fucking hilarious, okay? And whenever I do, even if like me and somebody politically align, whenever I do, it can seem as though I like really hate somebody to the Twitch politics sphere because they tend to not be as harsh on each other, right? For example, Diorio can go on a live stream and completely shit on me for like any reason, and I fully understand like the guy's joking around, right? But if that happens in the politics sphere, it's seen a little bit differently, right? I think that's like a large part of this drama, because specifically there was a clip of me shit talking Stardust that was like, it wasn't nearly brutal for the commentary scene. I merely said that it was based whenever somebody said that they would nuke Stardust's country, because I thought it'd be funny. It's a funny thing to say. Like that is so based. I love you for saying that, dude. Like it was obviously a bit of a gag. However, it was kind of taken by people around the Twitch politics sphere as like, oh yeah, this person really fucking hates Stardust. I don't really have much of an opinion on it anymore. The one thing I would say is I probably would have not said that. Looking back on it, I probably would have let the conversation flow a little bit differently. I wouldn't have gone on the topic of Stardust. I probably would have just redirected the conversation away from that. But I think that was probably one of the largest playing factors into this whole thing.
naturally, when Bunk switched up his content and started covering politics, he kept that edgy and crass sense of humor. Stardust is a much more milquetoast streamer, and even though she does love to push people's buttons from time to time, she mostly relegates herself to an analytical and commentary perspective, weighing in on topics and talking to people she finds interesting, rarely being the first to start aiming weapons. The two came from different perspectives, and seemingly generally different types of people, so it makes sense that should they meet, it would end in conflict. For context to this situation, Bunk really doesn't like Stardust. Beyond that, he hates her. You sort of had a dislike towards Stardust. Could you talk about that?
Sure. So I think the primary thing for me is the contrast between somebody who acts like on Twitter as though nothing affects them, and then actually like interpersonally and politically, whenever somebody says something against them, they tend to get a little bit more upset than they'd initially let on from their Twitter presence. The Twitter presence is straight up filled with like a mean girl persona, like, tell me more, and shit like that whenever they get insulted, and they want to debate me over a fucking insult. It seems to just be that contrast. I could kind of sense that in a person. Furthermore, there were repeated debates where... I don't want to go over this part on stream. Do I have to go over this part on stream? I don't want to hear myself talk. I fucking hate that, dude. I hate the sound of my own voice. Okay? I like talking. I hate hearing myself talk. It's a painful contrast. Okay? Dear Lord. Actually, while we're on the topic of this on stream, okay? Why don't we bounce around? Okay? Why don't we go straight into the depths of drama? Okay? While we're talking about the drama on stream, let's go and let's burrow our heads into the hellspace that is the drama side of this conflict, okay? Gotta hear your voice. Exactly. It's terrible. So, we're gonna take a look at my DMs with people. That's the wrong DMs. Fuck me. I don't know why Stardust has 2 different Discords. I have no idea why that's the case. So, after seeing that this video came out, and specifically that it covered my drama with Stardust, knowing that we had already resolved this conflict, or at least in my eyes, okay, we had resolved this conflict. We had 2 separate discussions on streams. First on Augie RFC's After Hours, and secondly on Chud Logic's stream. I figured that we were probably done with this drama, right? That we probably didn't want to resurface drama from months ago and rehash the entire thing. So I sent Stardust a DM concerning the drama. And it reads, by the way, when/if I go over the video that Dingo made, I'll be skipping the part about the drama between you and I for like months ago. You don't have to worry about any instigation on my end. Also, while the drama is in my mind, later on, ages after it had already settled, I was made aware of some pretty shitty things that Politically Revoked was doing behind the scenes to both you and others, specifically Brittany. I understand to a great degree why you reacted the way you did. Anyways, sorry to bother you, just came to mind and I thought I should inform you. So, I am sending probably one of the nicest DMs I could possibly send to this person, informing them that I won't be going over this this part on the stream. I am now, so you can tell that kind of fell through to a little bit. So I got a DM back from her only a little bit later saying, I already reacted to it on stream. I'm not interested in rehashing any part of the entirety of the drama again, but I feel it's within my right to say what I want to. Of course, and I said, of course, I DM'd you. Somebody told me something about it. Now, this was sent at 8:42 p.m. For those who are unaware, I'm in Central Time. So that's the time zones we're going to be working off of. If we go to Twitter, I was very pleasantly greeted with a tweet at me from the exact same person that I was DMing here. I didn't think that what I said was so inflammatory, so brutal that we had to bring up the entire thing again. However, I was greeted to a great tweet from Stardust at around this time. Give me 1 second to scroll Twitter as I find it. Basically, after I DM'd Stardust saying that, hey, I really don't think that we should go over this drama again. We're done with this drama. And by the way, just so you're aware, I'm not going to cover it on stream. And she had already covered on stream. I figured there would be no possible way where we could have greater conflict. I didn't think there was any like possibility in my mind that things would be stirred up from this. However, I was mistaken. I guess I was greatly mistaken, because if we go to Stardust tweets, the day that I tweeted this out, or that I sent her this DM, which would be the 15th, we're going to find an @tweet from Stardust at me that says, hold up, that's the wrong thing. That's not what I want to look at. We find an @tweet from Stardust saying, I get that he's trying to distance himself from it now, and that's fine, but my opinion hasn't changed. I'm not backing down for saying that I think that Bunk is a spineless fucking cock. So after I thought we had settled this drama, I get that tweet calling me a cuck. By the way, I wasn't leaking DMs on the stream. Stardust leaked those DMs by herself, completely on her own end. If you read this, I put out the DMs on my end. You can see that she puts the DMs on her end. This was exactly, this was like 8 minutes after the DM specifically. So that has been my enjoyment with this drama. Now, I am not saying that I want to go at it again with Stardust, because I don't have any interest in having more conversations with Stardust. What I will say is this. The more that I interact with Stardust, and we have these kinds of conversations, and we have these kinds of interactions, the more misogynistic I get. I think I might hate women now. I didn't before, now I do, okay? I have a raging hatred of women now. I might be the next Elliot Rodger at this rate, okay? If this kid keeps up, okay, we're gonna be way off the deep end. There will be violent crimes committed against women. Oh, hi, what's up, Max? I'm talking about hating women on a live stream.
Elliot Rodger before you. You understand? Hey, come do this dungeon with me, fuckface. Come on.
I'm covering drama on stream. This is gonna be made into a video, okay? I'll do the drama afterward. Or whatever it's called, the dungeon afterward.
Dude,
Fuck
right
you.
here.
Fuck you. Anyway. I'm a part of men going their own way. Exactly. You got it, okay? Here's my theory, okay? Yeah, that's right. I've developed my own little theory, okay? Let's look up Microsoft Paint. Can we look up Microsoft Paint? Here we go. So, here's my theory, okay? Let's imagine for a second that this is like a graph, okay? This is a graph that we're looking at. And right here, you have M. M represents misogyny. And I subscribe to a horseshoe theory of interactions with women, where you have this side and you've got this side, okay? This side represents the more interactions you have with women, okay? So if you're at this point, you have the most interactions with women. And this side of the horseshoe represents the least, less interactions with women. There we go. So, the more I'm like on this end of the spectrum, okay? We're getting really close to full-on misogynist. The more that I have conversations and I interact with women, specifically either on the internet or in real life, the closer I become to being misogynistic. And on this end of the spectrum, you have people like Elliot Rodger. And you can see we're headed towards the same place. We're headed towards the same place, guys. I don't know how much longer we can do this before I go completely off the edge. Okay? We're on a fast lane to some terrible things. How are we doing so far? We're doing fantastic, okay? I just explained why I'm becoming a misogynist. Anyway, back to the live stream about Dingo. It's rhetorically bad. Like I'm speeding up the video for this part. I'm not listening to myself talk at the normal speed. Just seem to like not be able to engage with America at all, despite, in my opinion, being correct in the debate. Or interactions with people like Southern Dingo, where they just kind of seemed like they just weren't actually in their comfort zone. Like something was just off about the way they acted compared to like their Twitter persona. I think contrast between those two and their inability to argue in certain situations just makes me think they're just not a good content creator. Obviously, it's not like a huge thing that keeps me up at night, dude. Oh my god, fucking Stardust. Like she's not a good debater. What the fuck? It's obviously a comment that I made as a little bit of like a jest. Like, oh yeah, I only like this channel because somebody I slightly don't like because it pissed them off, right? That's obviously it's a little jokey, right? I'm joking throughout the conversation. If you actually look back, I am constantly just slinging shit at people. I shat on like the random people in that fucking panel probably more than Stardust, at least like 10 times more. It was a very jokey conversation. It's not like this came out of nowhere and like a hyper serious debate. I was just like, oh yeah, by the way, fuck Stardust. I'm gonna tell you everything I don't like about it. I'm a very sharp-tongued person. I naturally come off as very sharp-tongued. I don't really have a way to like the way I talk is very abrasive. I don't really know how to change that, especially like, in the moment. So in my opinion, what was just a jest in a larger conversation about like how I didn't like somebody was turned into like this. Let's debate the moral philosophy of like making it a joke on a fucking live stream. That just seemed really fucking silly.
To make sense of a situation as complicated as this, I interviewed both individuals to get a look into their perspectives, the disagreements, and their general outlook on Twitch politics.
Keem said you were boring, idiot. L. Stance, stupid bitch. So true. Now that like the one and only Keemstar doesn't approve of my show on the internet, I'm quitting. You got me, dude. I'm quitting. It's over, okay? You know what? Keem didn't even call into the show, all right? Keem didn't even show up. I'm at no obligation to have to care about what Keemstar has to say. All right? I have a rule, okay? If they don't talk to me, I don't give a shit, and I'm gonna ignore their existence. That's how this works, by the way.
Okay, that is a question. I am Stardust. I am a politics/variety streamer, and I sometimes yell at people online, but I also do panel shows and various other things. So yeah.
When did you first become interested in politics?
So I think I was always interested in politics. I went to a very politically active college. It's probably one of the top politically active colleges in the nation. But yeah, I've always been interested in it. I just never really pursued it as something professional. You know, it's always something that was more of a hobby thing. So. It's always been like that, whether that's in person or online, right? People just tend to have more infighting because we spend more time together. We are in the same spaces together, and yeah, it's just something that seems to happen, though. I do think that because there are a lot of new people coming in, there are a lot of people who don't understand the history of politics online, don't understand the history of just what the online sphere used to be like and how intolerant it used to be, even not in a non-political sense. Like in a non-political sense, the online sphere used to be much more closed-minded, much more bigoted than they are today. And I don't think people understand the history and understand everything that Destiny's done as well through his career. So
recently, you got into a little bit of a not really recently, maybe a couple months back, you got into a little bit of a spat with I would say another political streamer called Bunk, where basically he laughed at a clip of a guy who was saying some rather disgusting things towards you. If you were to give some final kind of closing words on that controversy, what would you say?
Sure. I mean, so the background of that story is that there's this other guy named Dingo, not you, different Dingo, Southern Dingo, and I was in a call with him at one point, and it had been 40 minutes. He'd been on his racist rant forever, and I figured I would just interject with a mean question or whatever, and I did, and then he lost his shit again and continued with the racist stuff at me and told me I deserved to get nuked and all that, which is it's normal for me. I tend to interact with more extreme spheres, so people So I'm used to getting a certain amount of hate. If you talk to any of my mods, we were talking yesterday, we've had hate rates where we've had to ban 300 plus people. And they were all either Quakers or neo-Nazis or White Nats and stuff like that. So it's not anything I'm not used to. But I guess that got clipped and it kind of blew up on Twitch politics. And the guy kind of doubled down, this Southern Dingo guy. So he spent the next week
what a guy.
shows, debating other people and bringing me up.
Oh, by the way, that Southern Dingo guy is insane. All right, I was very mean to them during this panel. The guy's crazy. He's off his rocker, dude. That man is full on a white nationalist. He's off it. All right, he's more racist than I am misogynistic, and that's saying a lot. Okay, that's saying a whole bunch.
Time continued to talk about me, continued to say that my lineage are savages, that my grandparents are disgusting savages, that I don't know, he was saying all sorts of stuff about me, racialized stuff, yeah, pretty disgusting stuff. And it's okay, just another day. But then I guess what happened with Bunk is that Bunk was on some panel with him, I guess, and he brought up that he likes the politically provoked panel or channel because he said it's the channel that takes Stardust off, which is okay, whatever, that's fine.
I'm sorry, hearing her take what I said dead seriously is so funny. He said that he really likes it. It's well, no, I was joking. It was a bit of a joke. I don't really like politically provoked. It's a show full of Nazis. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but oh boy, just hearing it repeated back to me in the most serious tone is hysterical. Because I look back on it, I still think, wow, I was saying that because it was funny to me. I was fucking laughing my ass off throughout the clip, dude. I thought it was fucking hilarious. Because it's still a funny thought to me. The idea that somebody would love a channel that's full of Nazis purely because at one point during one panel somebody got insulted, right? And that they would like that channel for solely that reason is hysterical. That is a funny fucking thought.
Like me, but then he followed it up with didn't somebody here tell you that she deserves to get nuked? And then Southern Dingo said, yeah, that was me. And then he was like, oh, that was based. I love you. So okay, fine, you can do what you want, but I'm gonna call you out on it. And I think that you're being kind of inconsistent, but okay. I mean, yeah, the summary of the whole thing is that I don't know if there's really a summary. I don't really have a problem with him now. But I think to anybody else who would be looking at that, it's I put in a lot of work to already deal with these people. So it's just kind of frustrating, and it feels like a little bit. It feels like a little bit like a stab in the back when it's somebody who, I get it, you don't like me, you don't have to like me, but it feels a little bit like a stab in the back when it's somebody who's supposed to be politically aligned with you at least a little bit, is encouraging a literal Nazi in their language, so yeah.
Yeah. So in retrospect, would you have handled anything in that situation differently, or do you think you're mostly happy with how it turned out?
I think I'm happy with how it turned out, though I probably would have tweeted a little bit less because people don't seem to understand when I'm joking in my tweets, so.
So I just run a fucking variety stream at this point, dude. I don't fucking know. I talk about politics quite a bit. I think one thing that might differentiate me from a lot of other fucking political streamers is I'm kind of midway between being more commentary side as far as different types of humor that I fucking use, right? I tend to be a lot edgier than, as cringe as it is, I tend to be a lot edgier than a lot of people who are in the Twitch politics community. I think it draws in an actual different audience, which I think is kind of important. I think it's very important that we have certain people on the left who are willing to engage in types of humor that are going to appeal to younger audiences, right? At least younger male audiences specifically. That's a place where a lot of the types of jokes that I tell, tend to be a lot more popular. Conveniently enough, it's also the type of humor that quite a lot of people who end up debating engage in, right? A lot of the gripers that I end up having fights with engage in these types of very, let's say, dirtbag tactics, like dirtbag style rhetoric. And I think that me being able to engage in those in the same way and playing in the exact same field, just a little bit better than them, I think it works to show even to their audience that they're a bunch of fucking clowns. I think if you tell an insult, it has to work with the audience that you're going to be broadcasting to, and then I'm really good at like filling into that niche specifically. Generally around, God, what was it? It had to have been like 2014. I started seeing the political content. I was very, very young on the internet. I started watching different types of people engage in political content. I used to be a lot more of a libertarian right-wing person. Didn't we fucking all used to be back in those days, at least. Everyone's gone through a fucking libertarian right phase. And then I generally started watching Destiny around the time of the JonTron debate, at least when I heard of him. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even fucking care about Oh politics. boy, this guy eats my blades. Oh no.
Oh,
Most entertaining shit ever. And then really, I just kind of hung out in like Destiny's community under a completely different name too. I didn't go by the same name on the internet at this point in time. Like I've been fucking internet identity's been basically all but erased. Like it's basically non-existent at this point. I used to hang out on fucking Destiny server, debate cool people there, here and there. And I kind of had a falling out with like internet politics around 2018. Just I just didn't find it that much interesting anymore. I think the latest time where I was really into it was like around 2019. And then about 2 years later, I started re-engaging in political discourse because I saw people in the commentary community specifically giving really shit takes about politics, like fucking dog shit awful takes that like anybody with a brain could try and debunk. So I just kind of invited people on my stream to discuss the takes that I tend to disagree with, and that's kind of how I got my reputation for being this debater guy. Yeah. And then I just kind of transitioned my content from commentary into politics and fucking gaming or whatever the fuck I do. Yeah.
You've been in the past accused of being, I guess, racist, or you've been accused in the past of being racist or supporting, I guess, as they would call them, alt-righters from your discussion and subsequent issues with Stardust. Could you give me a recount of the situation?
To be honest with you, I think that the idea that I support alt-righters is genuinely exactly correct. I just fucking love racism. I'm not a racist myself. I just like to cheer it on where I see it and just encourage it to happen. I think being racist is disgusting, but you're on the sidelines and you root for the best team. No, in genuineness, I hopped on a politically provoked panel. What the hell is wrong with me, dude? Fucking Nazis, because a lot of them are fucking stupid. I hopped on the panel, talked a lot of shit to a lot of different people. It was a very jokey conversation. If you go back on it, I'm being very harsh to everybody on the panel. There's not like a second where I'm like super nice or I'm super caring, and then all of a sudden I fucking turn on Stardust, right? It's just not the mood of the panel. I think was I was being very sharp-tongued, and I genuinely am most of the time. I think this was kind of thrust in front of an audience that doesn't understand the idea that I'm a very joking person. I don't take myself like super hyper seriously when I'm fucking on a panel. We're not even really debating anything. I'm just shitting on like a bunch of random people, right? And then I get on the topic of like I probably would be more amenable to it. And the problem that I had was Stardust tried to turn this into being like a fake progressive or spineless, or there were huge implications that I was a racist throughout the tweets. I think that everyone can agree on that. You can't just heavily imply that and then just say, oh, I don't think he's a racist, but then everybody who is watching this go down thinks that I'm a racist because of the way you framed it, right? It's like, again, if someone were to come out and say, well, I don't think this person's racist, but here are all the reasons that they might be racist, and I'm just going to leave them with you, and you can make that up for yourself, right? Without presenting any other side. It's a very shady way of presenting a story. Do I know that Stardust did this intentionally? Not necessarily. I'm not going to hold it against her because fuck it, the drama's over with, and to be honest, I don't want to touch it. Dear God, I'm so fucking nice to Stardust in this interview. I've been so fucking nice to Stardust, and it's for so long, dude. I'm looking back at it. It's not something that like I'm specifically going to take away from it, but the way that I'm wording everything and the way that like I'm recounting the story, like, hey, she kind of did imply that I'm a racist. However, I don't know if she did that intentionally. Is like that kind of caveat you leave in there. Like, I don't know if she did it intentionally. It's something very specific that you're going to. What would I say? It's something very specifically that doesn't have to be there, but it is there anyway. And the reason that it's there is to give some kind of charity to the other person in a given conflict, right? I think it's really weird to see her like resurface all of this with like a tweet like that, especially after the way that it was interviewed in this video and the types of things that I said about it. Again, I probably would have let the conversation flow a little bit differently, but does this make me racist? No, obviously not. What makes me racist is my genuine hatred of minorities. Oh,
instead of looking at this as an
I said I hated minorities in this interview. Maybe that's why it was brought back up. Maybe that might have been why. Who knows?
Personal conflict, it could be looked through a broader lens as a proxy war, one often echoing throughout the Twitch politics community. That being of edgy creators versus woke scolds. Woke scolds are often criticized for attempting to eat their own, going after people they generally agree with for jokes and small disagreements, often oversimplifying, overstepping, and exaggerating situations in their own heads, typically stemming from an obsession with being correct and criticizing others. Despite this situation being more than interesting, it is ultimately less than a footnote of a system, running entirely off of its own news cycle. What's very noticeable about Hasan is that it feels like under normal circumstances, an average or even below average thinking individual would be able to easily deconstruct his political ideologies and arguments, leaving behind his complicated ranting and raving.
Oh boy, the Hasan segment.
Explanation that
I'm excited.
In that way, Hasan echoes the current state of the political landscape of Twitch, discombobulated and unsure of its legitimacy. However, it becomes almost completely apparent when viewing anything he says politically how incompetent he is at making any point in not only a political disagreement, but in any argument full stop. In order to fully understand the shattered facade of Hasan Piker, it's important to look at his past, his rise, his controversies, and his ultimate failure as a commentator.
Oh boy.
Hasan Doğan Piker was born in New Brunswick, New Jersey, to Turkish parents, and raised in Istanbul. He recalls being bullied in public school because of his lack of physical fitness and intelligence. Piker returned to the United States and studied at the University of Miami before transferring to Rutgers University, where he took off with a double major in political science and communication studies, before graduating in 2013. During his senior year, Piker interned for The Young Turks, a progressive news show and network co-founded by his uncle, Cenk Uygur. Shortly after his graduation, Piker was hired by the network's ad sales and business department. Piker would regularly host the show when the usual suspects couldn't make it. He slowly ascended the ranks and later became a full-time host and producer. In 2016, Piker famously created and hosted The Breakdown, a TYT network video series which aired on Facebook and presented left-leaning political analysis targeted towards a younger audience with power to vote. The show was nominated in the Best Web Series category at the 10th Shorty Awards in 2018, and went hugely viral despite its less-than-intelligent host. Hasan also streamed on Twitch, the live broadcasting network, sharing his own opinions, separate from his uncle's show. His job, however, was always The Young Turks. That would change for Piker when, in January 2020, he announced his departure from TYT and his intention to focus on his career of Twitch streaming. Hasan's renewed focus on his Twitch career initially seemed bright, however, controversy quickly embroiled his lack of critical thinking skills. It all flared up for Hasan in a frankly ridiculous feud with transgender media critic and YouTuber JXy.
Oh boy, we're getting the JXy set. So I think probably the biggest problem with Hasan, at least in my opinion, is that Hasan isn't like the most intelligent person. Hasan is really good at the memes and a little bit of upbeat kind of commentary that he gives to things. However, I don't think Hasan is like there for like hyper intelligent political commentary. Hasan knows that people don't watch him for hyper intelligent political commentary. At least I hope that he knows that, right? Most of the time when people are tuning into Hasan's stream, they're not like, God, I can't wait to hear the Hasan take on the newest Twitch fucking discourse, right? He isn't held to the same standard of like a political streamer. And whenever you watch his fucking streams, a lot of it is just kind of like the React Andy shit. And people will kind of sometimes they'll try and clump him in with political streamers when his platform isn't really built off of like, oh yeah, by the way, here let's talk about like specifically politics for a very long period of time. At least I don't think that's his appeal. Now, I'm not a Hasan viewer, however, so maybe people view him in a completely different way. The way that I see him is mostly as like, yeah, people go to Hasan because they want to see memes and they want to see a fucking streamer screaming a fucking microphone for a bit, right? Or a streamer react to some kind of fucking content on the internet. I don't know. It doesn't really make much sense to me to clump him in with a bunch of people who the main draw of them is to have like political analysis.
In which he watched a documentary of hers on stream, adding minimal commentary and, at some points, even leaving their chair entirely and letting the video play, an obvious violation of copyright law.
In November of 2020, I released a YouTube video making fun of a weird house. In July of 2021, Hasan streamed a reaction to this video live on Twitch, which he spent the majority of either absent or eating food, pausing to comment very rarely, ending up adding less than 2 minutes of total commentary to my 14-minute video, which he plays in full. He does not give credit. I soon after responded with a satirical livestream, making sure to outline what my actual perspective was, both in the stream and in a pinned comment. This perspective was basically, I'm fine with reaction content. Hang on, let me just repeat that again very slowly and clearly. I am fine with reaction, but I don't think it's cool to go around playing people's full videos on your stream without adding anything or giving credit unless you have their express permission. Hasan then responded on his next stream, first by apologizing and saying that he wasn't going to watch any of my videos on stream anymore.
If you don't want me watching your stuff, I will gladly never watch it. I'm really sorry.
After this, he spent approximately the next 25 minutes making arguments as to why he didn't think he was in the wrong for doing this kind of thing.
Aren't you taking views away? No, most YouTubers don't mind that. Actually love that shit when Twitch streamers react to their videos. Because
The reaction debate, okay? The great debate is whether people should be reacting to videos on stream. I don't give a shit. That's my final commentary on this. I do not give a single fuck. I have no opinion on it. Dear Lord, I love the idea that I can just not have an opinion on this, okay? That brings me great joy, that I am not going to spend a large amount of my time trying to figure out what my opinion is in this fucking conflict. Holy shit.
Piker was quickly flamed and criticized for it, and later proceeded to completely fabricate a huge chunk of allegations against JXy, including her supposedly being present in a voice chat with Nazis, a claim Piker never substantiated or explained.
Watch their videos ever again and I move on. This is what I said 1 fucking year ago. Since then, they made a video. Afterwards, they had like a bunch of fucking Nazis in the kill stream get together and do an 8-hour reaction to my entire stream. I think it was an 8 or 10 hour fucking podcast they did on that. Okay?
Piker was also called out for dodging a discussion with comedian and prankster Tumad over his spread of misinformation about COVID-19, and instead continues to watch MasterChef, a TV show not owned by Piker, again infringing copyright. Piker descended even lower,
boy.
even verbally abusing one of his transgender fans during a civil disagreement.
My issue as a trans person is the fact that you, a guy that isn't super well versed on trans shit, brought on a known transphobe, knowing he might bring up transphobic shit. You aren't exactly a Vosh at trans debates. I hope that the rest of your life is as horrible as it is every single day.
Preceding this disgrace, he spread even more misinformation on his stream about the Ukraine invasion, explaining to his viewers the so-called crimes of Ukraine.
But like, you feeling bad about the Crimean annexation does not change the reality of the Crimean annexation being a completely justifiable fucking act by the Russian government, okay?
Dear
so that's
Lord. This is actually what made me look into specifically the polling data around the Crimean annexation. Because Hasan Piker made arguments based on like the polling data of the Crimeans around the time. And it was just wrong. It was just super fucking incorrect claims to this data. This is the primary thing that made me look into this. I'm being honest, right? I don't really care much for the discourse around Ukraine anymore. It seems pretty obvious that it's a bad thing, right? I don't know how much I'm willing to argue that. Most of the arguments that I've seen, even like arguments for example, what would you call it? Nick Fuentes would present on his stream would just be like describing how nations act, like that. Yes, Russia is going to act in a certain way. Now, whether Russia does act that way or not does not actually have any influences to whether it is a good thing or not.
That's fine. And Hitler invaded countries based on Germanic ties at first? Yeah, dude. Talk to me when he's fucking throwing Ukrainians in a fucking... What are you talking about? Talk to me when he's throwing Ukrainians in a concentration camp, okay? Hitler wasn't fucking bad because he decided to invade Austria. He was bad because he was fucking killing Jews, okay? That was the problem. He wasn't like, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking annex territory with like Germanic people.
I know it's our job to help this guy and everything, but I think this guy's a lost cause. He's obviously made up his mind. Why don't we just cut our losses and get out of here?
Further asserting that the war won't happen, the media is lying and warmongering. He was then rightfully shell-shocked when Russia began to invade Ukraine. When being criticized and called out by a Hungarian YouTuber, Adam Something, over this very subject, he called said YouTuber a Nazi, another unsubstantiated claim, before seemingly descending into a rant against Hungarians. Despite my dissent, he remains undoubtedly the most popular political streamer to date, boasting over 892,000 YouTube subscribers and 1 million Twitter followers. So it comes with no surprise that such a famous public figure is such a massive douchebag. Throughout this investigation, from complete top to bottom, I've analyzed and thoroughly searched through hours of video archives, screenshots, depraved and abrasive, and delved into the minds of those I've interviewed. Before I leave you off with a funky piece of music and a please subscribe icon, I'd like to collect my final thoughts on these individuals and some motifs and opinions I'd like to leave you off with. The Twitch politics community is first and foremost a wasteland for criticism. It's very hard to get someone to admit that they are wrong, and even if you manage to get 50% close to such an impressive feat, there's a couple of guys just over the fence ready to fire the barrages, and they've got the big guns of the terms of service and an army of 13-year-old communists at their disposal. Not even mentioning that most of the creators in the Twitch politics sphere aren't even that smart to begin with. Someone like Hasan, who we just touched on, is one of the most unintelligent people I've ever had the displeasure of researching. Almost disgustingly ego-driven, not only have creators and
disgustingly ego-driven abused their... I've been owned. That's why I am on screen specifically for that part, okay? Describing me. I'm a disgustingly ego-driven individual. I purely exist to gain clout, okay? It all fuels my ego at the end of the day, and that's what matters. That's the important part. Ooh, I got linked to tweet and chat by Dioria. Let's take a look at that after this.
With someone like Hasan, who we just touched on, is one of the most unintelligent people I've ever had the displeasure of researching. Almost disgustingly ego-driven, not only have creators and prominent figures like Vosh abused their power for sexual favors, but most of them at least abuse it in the favor of using these impressionable teenagers like attack dogs to pile onto anyone they disagree with. Not that these creators are completely responsible for their audience's actions, but that they tacitly condone it, and sometimes downright encourage it. And even when a level-headed commentator like Destiny uses some of their less aggressive tactics in good faith, they are the first to condemn him, despite turning around the next day to do the same, if not worse, to others. The Twitch politics community is full of hypocritical cockroaches, and if I had to describe the Twitch politics community in 2 words, it would probably be wasted potential. Sort of like how seeing a piece of shit in front of you might be kind of disgusting, but maybe seeing a piece of shit on a nicely garnished steak might just be that little bit more upsetting. Thank you for watching the video, and stay tuned for more.
All right, that was pretty good actually. I kind of enjoyed that video. That was really good. Solid like 8 out of 10. I think that was probably better edited than most of the things that I've seen in a very long time. Okay, like that was probably one of the better videos that I've watched.